Welcome back to our weekly edition of Rocklin and Roseville Chambers alongside Assemblyman Kevin Kiley. So thanks again, Assemblyman, for joining us. We also have Robin Trimble, our Rocklin Chamber CEO, and Wendy Gehrig, Roseville Chamber CEO. I know that Wendy has to jump off to another event that she's hosting here shortly. So Wendy, I'm actually going to kick it straight to you for the first question for Assemblyman.
Great, thank you, and good morning, everyone. So, Assemblyman Kiley, my question, looking at your crystal ball, what does the new norm look like for us here in Placer County, state of California, the United States, and when do you see steps starting to take place to get us back to the new normal?
Well, I'll take the last part of the question first, because that's probably where, we could have the highest degree of confidence. And that's that, we may end up seeing some steps within the next couple weeks here, potentially. The governor laid out a couple days ago a set of 6 criteria that he says will guide our process of reopening the economy and resuming normal life. And, those 6 criteria are the sort of things you'd expect, like having sufficient testing capacity, having, bent the curve, having available hospital capacity, having plans in place in case there's a resurgence of the virus and so forth. He didn't tell us at the press conference necessarily where we are with respect to all of those criteria. He said, talk to me in 2 weeks. So we can expect, not next week, but the week after, that he will at least have some update on where we stand with respect to those criteria and what the timing of steps towards reopening might be. And I'd imagine that, it'll proceed in phases, maybe with some fraction of the workforce returning, with, protocols to assure adequate physical distancing in place. The federal guidelines released by the president yesterday were a little more specific in terms of what the phases will look like, although those are not necessarily binding on the state. I can tell you that one group that will be returning to work before too long is the legislature. We'll be back on May 4th. It looks like that date's probably going to stick, and we're going to, at first it looks like just have committee hearings, but there is somewhat of a sense of urgency because the state budget has to be passed by June 15th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Okay, well, I'll jump into, we've got a question on AB 5 from the Rocklin Chamber. So AB 5 is, it's a big deal for those that don't know about it. I guess, Kevin, could you just give us a brief summary on, if you can, I know it's a lot, what AB 5 is, and then also your ongoing efforts to suspend/reverse AB 5, because now more than ever, I think it's clear that this is going to affect a lot of businesses, a lot of people, a lot of private contractors. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I've been spending a lot of time on this over the last few months. AB 5 was a bill passed by the legislature last year, signed by the governor. And it basically says that if you're an independent contractor, so that's, people who are self-employed, freelancers, gig workers, by some estimates up to 2 million people in California, you're not allowed to continue operating like that unless you meet this very stringent test, which is impossible for many independent contractors to meet. So the effect of the law was to ban independent contracting in large swaths of the state. And so you've seen people in literally hundreds of professions who've lost their ability to earn a living because of this law. People in professions as diverse as writing and acting and singing and photography and artists and cartoonists, or translators and interpreters and transcriptionists, or teachers and tutors, or mall Santas and birthday clowns. All of these sort of people have lost the ability to work in the state of California. Matter of fact, a lot of companies who hire these sort of folks on their applications now say, if you are from California, you are not eligible to apply or to have a position with us. And so it's just had a devastating impact. And so I've been involved in an effort to repeal the law. We had a massive rally at the Capitol. We've been collecting hundreds, maybe thousands of stories from people at this point about how they've been negatively impacted. And this was all before COVID-19.
Right.
So the onset of the virus and the stay-at-home order has compounded this in truly perverse ways. Because when you think about it, freelancers, a lot of them work from home. In fact, a lot of them freelance precisely because it allows them to have flexible work arrangements. Maybe they're a single parent and need to be able to stay home with their kids, so they do freelancing writing from home. Or maybe they're a senior citizen who wants to supplement their Social Security, so they do freelance proofreading, or they're a virtual assistant from home. So all of those things are no longer possible under AB 5, and you have this just unbelievable situation where there's a statewide order telling people you cannot work outside the home because of the virus, and then there's a state law that says you're not allowed to work inside the home, AB 5. And it's just had a devastating impact on a lot of different people, and in particular, small businesses. So I've recently, since the stay-at-home order went into effect, I've called on Governor Newsom to at least suspend AB 5 while we're in this very unusual state of affairs, which he can do under his emergency powers. He suspended actually a number of laws already, but unfortunately, he's failed to take action.
Thank you for the update. Robin, do you have a follow-up to that?
Yeah, I have one. It kind of dovetails into this, Kevin, so it might give you a little more opportunity to expand. But the question comes from a member, and the question is, while restoring the economy will be a matter of private sector employees being able to resume activity, which we talked about today, what other role should the private sector be playing at this point? And what hindrances or obstacles do you see in the way of any of these efforts being completed?
So I think that it's really, really important that, that the governor's office has a dialogue with the private sector in terms of this whole process. I mean, of course, it needs to be guided by public health and by the public health authorities, but it also needs to be done in concert with those who actually comprise the economy, to see what the harms are they're suffering right now and what the challenges are that they'll face if we reopen in different ways. And so I'm quite happy to be a conduit to the governor's office in that sense, for any of your members who might have concerns that they want to relay, and we've been doing that already for different companies. I think that, and then the second part of your question was, what are the challenges?
Yeah, what would be the obstacles, do you think?
To a full return to economic life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the big ones are just that some industries are really not well suited to social distancing. So those sort of sectors might face, more difficulties in resuming normal business operations. And then, what everyone is concerned about is whether, even if we get the number of cases down to what we want it to be in order to reopen, the nature of this virus is it can sort of lie somewhat dormant and then resurface, and then you have another outbreak, and then all of the economic pain you've suffered, all of the personal pain we've suffered as a state, is kind of lost, because once again, we're in a state of pandemic. And so we need to make sure that we have, that we carefully calibrate our response in a way that guards against that possibility. And that's why testing is important in many ways, to keep a close eye on, who could serve as a vector, and to be able to do contact tracing and quarantining when someone does test positive. And so that's why that's one of the 6 factors the governor is looking at. And then, of course, the what will do more than anything else to return us to a state of normalcy is the development of therapeutics, including a vaccine. And there's a number of pretty promising possibilities out there, but it'll take time.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So to kind of wrap up, would you mind again giving us your contact information for your office, so that if businesses have some of these kind of tailored questions, that they can always reach out to either chamber, but your office directly as well?
Sure. So they can call my office, either, if they call my capital or my district office, it'll, be forwarded to my staff members who are working remotely. The number is 774-4430. And they can also email me at Assemblymember Kiley at assembly.ca.gov.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. And hope everybody has a great social distancing weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
All right.